It's that time again where we discuss the highlights, the best of the month, best of the past month. We are looking at October this time. I don't know why I always do that. Really hope there'd be some kind of uplift in releases. Usually there is when you hit like September, October, November. We haven't hit November yet properly, to be fair, but still, there's usually like a flood of new releases, and the amount of albums I end up loving just increases by a huge amount. But yet 2021's been a strange year. There hasn't been that yet. So this past month, while there has been some really good albums and there have been some strong highlights, it's definitely feeling thinner than last year and even the year before. I mean, last year particularly was a thinner year in general because of coronavirus and everything like that. So I did think we'd have a bit more of an uplift for 2021. Hasn't quite happened the way I imagined, but you know, still some good releases to talk about anyway. I want to shout out Wiki, Navy Blue to start off with. I don't think this album is quite as strong as previous stuff from Wiki, particularly Oofy. I have seen this album get a huge amount of praise, but for me, I don't think it tops Oofy at all. But I do want to shout it out because I think it's pretty good, and I think the direction he's going in a bit more of an abstract hip-hop way, I think is worthwhile, but I don't think it's actually suiting his best abilities in ways that he has done before. But I like this album in that I think it could bridge the gap for people that aren't necessarily a big fan of your Earl sweatshirts, your Mikes, your navy blues as well. I think it has a bit more of an accessible edge to it compared to some of those, and I think if more people knew about Wiki, I think this would be a turning point for them in that sense. But yeah, unfortunately, it isn't, you know, an album from an artist that everyone is talking about, but I still think it's pretty good. I just wanted to mention it because I do think it's worthwhile. I didn't give it a full review, but I think Wiki has more in him than this. Next, a certainly worthwhile album to mention here, the debut album from Magdalena Bay. I do think this album is as sugary as pop is going to get for 2021. It's dreamy as well. It's a lovely album, and I think, you know, pop music fans should be going gaga over this, and they have been. You know, the people that are in the know with this album have certainly been going pretty gaga. And for good reason. I think by the end of the album, it loses a bit of steam. I think some of the tracks are certainly weaker. And I think it probably could have been a bit more substantive. The lyrics could have had a bit more substance. We'll word it like that, shall we? They're not bad lyrics, but I do feel like some of the tracks just don't really bring anything you haven't heard to the table in pop music. So while I understand its success, I think actually Magdalena Bay has improvements that they can work on with their next album. Sassy 009, 009 maybe it's like a 007 play on thing, perhaps, I'm not entirely sure, is a really interesting new artist working with some really cool, you know, ethereal pop stuff with drum and bass being thrown in there. I feel like this album is a good sort of like midpoint between an artist like Pink Pantheress and then Jessie Lanza. Somewhere in the middle, you get Sassy 009. You also get this hilariously like E4 drama album cover, which shout out to Fleece for pointing that out. This literally looks like it could have been like circa 2009. It could have been like a rip-off of Skins or something with this album cover. I do really like how that ends up looking like that. But yeah, aside from that, I think this music is really nice. I think her vocals are interesting. Some of these tracks are really unique in the way that she brings them together. Definitely an artist to watch in the future. This is only a mixtape actually, so I'm interested to see what she does with a full album. I want to mention an artist that I've only just recently discovered, Wyndow with a Y, by the way, self-titled album, an incredibly haunting, chamber pop-ish album that I think actually has some really lovely vocals that match the weird atmosphere that's going on. I feel like fans like Marissa Nadler would be into this. Not a huge amount to say about it, but I just really like it. It really hits the ears well. And I think, again, another artist that's dropping a debut album once again, that could certainly be one to watch for the future. Definitely if you're into like your kind of like haunting, ambient, droney, chamber pop type stuff, I think you could definitely get a lot out of this. The next two I want to mention are the big boys of the month, the big albums of the month. Two of my favourites that have come out in October, two of my favourites of the year so far as well. We have Ross from Friends, who gave us Tread. Tread is just an electronic wonder for the year. One of the most well put together and diverse electronic albums of the year. Easily, he combines outside a house with just general house music, UK bass, UK garage, all mixed into one album, all blended together. Some really great sampling work going on as well, particularly on tracks like Love Divide. Just a really, really well put together album, and I think anyone that just loves electronic music would 100% adore this thing. So yeah, definitely one of the highlights of the year, not only with electronic music, but just in music generally. Which leaves me with my album of the month. For anyone who has been following this channel closely will hopefully know what it is. It is in fact Bad Bad Not Good, which is their latest album. They've done loads of albums at this point. I think the weird theme of this, highlights is that a lot of these albums are actually only just dropping their debut albums, but Bad Bad Not Good, or they're early on in their career, like Ross from Friends. But Bad Bad Not Good are actually veterans at this point. They've been around for friggin' years, and they nail it almost every time. They are an incredibly well put together jazz group, incredibly talented at this point. They feel like they're experts in how they craft their songs, the way they build, the dynamic that comes through on these tracks, the added instrumentation that just brings the songs to a new level. You've got the electric guitar coming through on some of these tracks, which sounds absolutely sublime. The piano that comes through as well is wonderful. This is just a really great jazz album, and I think anyone that loves jazz should be on this album without a doubt, because yeah, it's one of the highlights of the year. And there's been quite a few good jazz albums actually. I think Jorby as well, Jorby with Nath's Peace, that was a brilliant album too. So yeah, Bad Bad Not Good, do it once again. A highlight for the year. And that's all my highlights of the month. Bad Bad Not Good winning album of the month, deservedly so, I think. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching as always. Let me know what your albums of the month are in the comments. Please as well, if there's anything I've missed recently, not necessarily just from October, but if there's some underrated or undiscovered albums that you think deserve more attention, send them my way, because I'll happily give them a listen. Like I say, thin on the ground for great albums this year. There's been a lot of great ones, but not as many as there usually is. So if I've missed any in particular, would love to see what you guys have to offer. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Do have a good day. Subscribe if you haven't already, and goodbye.